What up, NBA fans? San Antonio Spurs. It's time to look at you, look at your roster. Of course, you got the big prize of the NBA draft, Victor Wembanyama. Um, the hype train is pretty legit for y'all in the NBA's eyes.
Mm.
Um, what are y'all expecting? What are y'all thinking going
I have
in?
a question. Like, how is this lineup going to play out? Because Keldon Johnson's an obvious starter, might be
Yep.
the best scorer on that team. So there's your small forward. Jeremy Sochan's the only person on that team with a pair of balls, so he's a starter. So are you comfortable starting Wemby at 5?
Uh-huh.
Really?
You have to. I don't think you can play him at the 4.
I would not feel comfortable with him guarding the other team's 5 on like half the
Start
night.
him at the 5, but then have some muscle at the 4 and switch him. But
Mm.
like a theoretical 5, because there's not a ton of, if you like go through the teams, like against New Orleans, or Memphis, teams that have bruising centers, you probably wouldn't want
Denver.
to get beat up. Yeah, Denver. I mean, Popovich is smart. I think there's ways around it. I don't know. Do you think they're veteran guys like Bullock and McDermott? I mean, they're both on expiring deals. Do you think those guys are going to be waived or traded before the season, or are they going to hold on to those guys and see what they can get at the deadline?
I would hold on to him, especially Bullock, because you can get something for him.
Would you
I just
start?
don't. Well, my question to you is: before he got hurt, I thought Devin Vassell was like one of their best players, so I would have to start Vassell at the 2, probably Trey Jones at the 1, which is a decent little lineup, but I wouldn't expect it to win a lot of games.
Not in the West, and I don't think
Not
they're
the
trying
West.
this year.
Well, you still got Malachi Branham coming off the bench. You got that Champagne kid or whatever his name is coming off the bench, and then Bullock. So you got like a logjam of the same thing coming off the bench. I think the team needs bigs because I've never been a big Zach Collins fan anyway. So, I mean, to your point earlier, when you play the Memphis and the Pelicans and Denver and maybe even the Lakers, it's like I could see y'all giving up a lot of paint points.
Yeah, that's why any talk of this sleeper Spurs this early is kind of stupid because they just don't have the pieces. They have some good parts, but they're not OKC. They're not Houston. They don't have 4 or 5 guys with high ceilings. To your point, it's Keldon Johnson and it's Wemby. And outside of that, they're gonna have to figure out who fits. I think Keldon Johnson's a great fit, and his contract actually goes down as the years go. It's a declining one, so that's going to work out really nicely if they start to put some real pieces together. But yeah, this feels like a bottom out year, and it's not a great draft coming up, but they can still get another blue chip prospect.
Man, but like to bottom out with Wemby and the hype behind him, that's not a good look at all. At all. But also, like Keldon Johnson, I heard his name mentioned a lot in the offseason in trades. And I wonder if that'll affect him any.
Yeah, I understand why he was being shopped. But if you go through the West, they're not passing any of the 8 playoff teams from last year, and they're probably not passing the 2 or 3 on the bubble. So that puts them at least at 12. And then if you're at 12, then what are you really doing if you're basically bottoming out? So it's
not to continue to harp on it, but I've been because we have like a running argument here in Houston with Spurs fans, and I said it many times, and I swear by it. Like Houston will have a better record than y'all. Like we're a better team.
Oh yeah.
I actually think San Antonio might be like still the worst team in the West.
I don't know about the very worst team in the West.
Like who's worse? I expect Sacramento to do better, the Clippers to do better, Lakers, all the California teams to do better. So you're like, there's a strong possibility that Utah might take a step back and not produce as well.
But they're
so
better than Spurs.
Well, they should in theory. Houston should do better in theory. Minnesota should do better in theory. So, like, if you look at it on paper, Spurs is probably the worst team in the West.
That's insane. But
You
yeah,
think
It is.
yeah.
even if Dame gets traded from the Trailblazers, you think?
Oh,
they're-
that's
Okay,
the only.
that would be their best case scenario.
Yeah, that would be the only other team. It depends who they got back. If it's a
True.
Tyler Hero and a piece from another team, then I think the Spurs could be better than the Blazers, but not by a ton. I mean, the Blazers have a few guys.
Yeah.
I think the Spurs' best course of action to have a competitive season and not like be a bottom feeder is to play hella good defense. I do believe that they're capable of that under Pop.
Well, if they're well coached and have good defense, and yeah, I like Sochan too, and I think he's going to take a step up again. So I wouldn't put it past them to be scrappy and feisty, especially early on in the season. And then if they're 18-40 or whatever, you think they'd just shut down Victor at that point, and then
I would.
yeah, and then that would just drop them to. That's what I think. I think they might start out like 10-10, like a pretty good start, a decent start, and then all of a sudden they're 15-30, then they're 20-40, and then it's like, oh, what are we doing? Shut Victor down. Then they finish like 20 with 25 wins. That would be a realistic scenario. And I know Spurs fans probably don't want to hear that, and Victor is a generational guy. But if you look at the Magic last year, they had a hell of a good rookie season performance from Paolo, and they didn't win a ton of games. Like it happens. It's very rare one player surrounded by an average roster can lead you to a huge improvement in year one.
If you were a Spurs fan, would you be opposed to the idea of like, okay, we had a couple years where we drafted players like Vassell, Malachi, Sochan, but if I was a Spurs fan, I would want to say that we're starting our rebuild now. And by doing so, I'm okay with trading those other guys to bring talent in. Like, I would think about that maybe, and not be so loyal to everybody not named Victor.
Rebuilding around Victor.
Yeah, because I think, no disrespect to Trey Jones, but you're a really good backup in this league.
But
First and foremost, that would be my thing, is to get a point guard on that team.
I kind of like Trey Jones as a point guard for if you don't want to win a lot of games, or even – I mean, yeah, you're not going to win a lot of games with Trey Jones as your point guard, but they don't need to yet. They don't need to go out and get that veteran point guard yet. Mm-hmm. And I don't even see what moves can make them a contender next year for the playoffs. Just with how good the West is. I mean, stuff happens all the time. Things shift. But people just seem to be more patient with Victor. It's not going to happen overnight. They're not going to be great overnight, and it's fine. And if they're better than expected, that's cool too. But they're not making the playoffs this year. They're probably not making them next year. So everything you do has to be 3 or 4 years out. And right now, I think Keldon Johnson's the only one with a contract that's 3 or 4 years out. And so if that's your piece around Victor, and he's going to be making like $17 million in year 5, that's a ludicrously good deal for Keldon Johnson.
I believe you're 100% correct in all those statements, especially there's no need to win now. And I think a lot of people believe that, with the exception of Victor. Like, I think Victor thinks he's going to come dominate the league. And I was like, no, bro, you're going to get a rude awakening fairly quickly, in my opinion.
Because, I mean, what helped LeBron, because LeBron got his teams to the playoffs early on without much around him. He was in a pretty shitty Eastern Conference where you could sneak into the playoffs. And the top of those at that time were like the Pistons and whatnot. So he got those reps in the playoffs. And that will be one thing for Victor. I don't think he's going to be able to get those reps for at least a couple of years, just because of how deep the West is. Because, yeah, just doing that thought experiment of who's the worst team in the West outside of Portland and the Spurs, really every team can make a case for at least a play-in push.
Well, it's not only that. Is like I liken the Victor Wembanyama free draft process to that of Zion. Like, you were so hyped or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's all we heard about. It's like the undoubtable number one. We knew who was going one. I mean, you could kind of say the same for Cade, but my point is like, we hated Zion, but nobody went at him because he was a bully in his own right. Victor's not built that way. So now, like, national media keeps saying all these things about Victor, making the other players hate him. You got to understand, like, there's a target on your back now, and what can you do about it? And I don't think he's built like Zion to do anything about it.
I mean, Draymond came at him. You got other players like Tracy McGrady, veterans coming at him. Somebody said he's gonna be the next Sean Bradley. Like,
I don't think you want to be built like Zion.
No, but I think Zion could defend himself. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
big dude.
It is a big dude. Too
I mean, he's
big.
an 18-year-old kid coming to America. Like, I don't. He just needs time. I don't think he. I mean, he's a very confident individual, and you have to be if you're going to be
Confidence. I think confidence get a lot of people punch in the mouth. So,
like his comment of "this is easy playing in summer league." It's like, yeah, bro. Of course it's easy. It's summer league. Like, take a break, bro. Just chill. Like, there's a lot of people competing. Like, it reminds me of all the times when people call out Brian Scalabrine and they're like, dude, you're a bum. And it's like, yeah, but that bum went to the NBA.
yeah. What he said,
Like,
I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me.
there's levels at.
It's true. I mean, Victor's lucky that the Spurs got him because he's already getting this much attention being in San Antonio. Imagine if he had gone to maybe not Charlotte, but a bigger market. I guess even Portland wouldn't be bad. So I mean, he lucked out this year with who the bottom choices were. But even Houston, I think a bigger market like that would have been more pressure on him, and especially with Houston, if you guys would have got him, it might have been even more win now craziness.
Oh, 100%, especially considering the young talent that's on our team. We would have been in all-in mode right now.
Right. And then Charlotte would have just been sad. And we wouldn't be here.
So they finished 22-60. Do y'all think they're gonna do better than that?
Yeah, I think they're going to do slightly better just with a good point guard. May not be an elite point guard by any means, but he's a solid point guard. He's going to get minutes, get numbers, and then the Victor effect should get you a few wins. Like, they're going to beat the shit out of the bottom half of the East, I would think.
I'll say this: they played us really tough last year. There was some really good games against Houston and San Antonio last year. And if I'll give them the benefit of the doubt about anything, is I think that they have the players on that team to play an aggressive defensive style, and they also have the talent on that team to put a lineup on the floor that can shoot very well. Because don't forget, they still got Doug McDermott on that team. Malachi Branham can shoot lights out. So, I mean, there's ways for them to try to stay in the game. So, if they won 22 last year, I think that they'll be somewhere probably 25, 26 wins this year.
Yeah, I was going to say 27 was my number. So, yeah, basically the same.
So
I'd be kind of surprised if they won 30.
Oh, I would too. I would also. If they win 30 games, then that means there's a couple teams in the West that really shit the bed.
Yeah, that means Utah shits the bed. Maybe Minnesota, something drastic happens.
Maybe. It's interesting. I want to see how Victor plays. Like, I wish you well, but my recommendation would be to shut the hell up for the time being.
I mean, from just what he said, every big man's coming at you. Like, this season, every big man's going to welcome him and bless him into the league on at least their first game that they play.
If I had another word of advice for him, is go to that San Antonio locker room and be best friends with Sochan, because he's not right upstairs, so at least somebody's there to protect you.
So
you know who Jeremy Sochan reminds me of? He's like a throwback player to the 90s almost. He reminds me of like the Davis boys from Indy or Oakley and Mason from, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, I'm not here to score. I'm here to cause ruckus and rebound, and play defense. And I think every team in the league should have one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
true.
Almost like a Bruce Brown.
Baylor.
All right. So pretty much we have them at 14-15 again in the West.
Yeah, y'all scraping the bottom, San Antonio. Don't hate us for saying it, but you got to see it to believe it, and Victor hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah, I mean, I know if any of my family that's Spurs fans watch this and y'all are telling me y'all are going to beat Denver this year to make it to the NBA Finals, doesn't sound like you are, but it's fine. All right, it's okay, and we'll see y'all in a good 4 years or so whenever Pop renews his contract. There any last minute notes?
No,
Good
I'm
I don't
luck.
know. We're gonna get some backlash from Spurs fans, but it is cool to be optimistic, and I'm not even shitting on them by any means. I think Victor's gonna be an amazing talent.
I mean, you
Not
said
gonna,
it best. They're gonna be pesky.
all right. Let me ask you this: what numbers wise? Before we go, numbers wise, what is a suitable rookie year for Victor Wembanyama?
I think he's gonna get close to 20.
So like a 20-10 kind of first year is okay with you?
How many bigs on that team? So he might. I mean, Sochan can get rebounds, but I think a 2012. Those are good numbers for a rookie, though.
Man, those are great numbers for a fifth-year player. So if he could do it as a rookie, then I'll take it.
So maybe I'll temper expectations. 18 and 10 with like a block and a half a game.
I'll say that's the number that I'm inflating. I'm expecting more than that from you. Because I actually do believe the one talent that he possesses that'll carry him throughout his career is his rim protection. I'm looking more of like a 3 blocks per game kind of player.
Wow.
So don't hate me, Spurs. I showed him some love.
Okay. I ain't gonna pick shit because I don't even care if he does good. But
It's 755.
yeah, I mean,
All right,
I would
Spurs.
say, yeah, we'll see what happens. It's a long way to that time. He has a lot of time to talk on it, social media, and the NBA is going to be pushing him throughout all areas for sure.
Mm-hmm.
San Antonio fans, I know you're not gonna be happy with this because it's not what you wanted to hear, but hey, it's our opinion. It's up to you. Listen, don't listen. It's all good. We're still gonna talk. If you made it to this point, like, subscribe. We got you covered on all NBA content. So of course, your San Antonio Spurs will be a team that we talk about going forward. Whether they're good, they're bad. Do we praise Victor? Do we shit on Victor? It's gonna be up to him and to your team. That being said, man, we are out of here. Y'all be good. Enjoy that muddy river. Out.
Peace.
How much I'm working for this? I swear my dreams are too important.